Have you ever heard the high-pitched zee-zee-zoo-zee and wondered, what bird is that? Well, that's the black-throated green warbler. See, warblers, you'll hear them before you see them, and sometimes you never ever see them. That's why listening and knowing their songs are so important. We finally did it. We're down to part 3 of 3 of the Warbler ID.
Rick, is there a bird in the house?
The birds are calling from inside the house. This is the third and last installment of my Warbler ID Masterclass. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, you can find the links to them in the description below. They call this an ovenbird. Another bird that doesn't look like a warbler. It also looks very much like a thrush. It's got that same look, that those spots on the chest, or these are more stripes, but spots on the chest, kind of an upright stance, hops around the forest floor. It's very similar, but this one is about half the size. Ovenbirds are really small, like warblers, tall. It's a warbler, but doesn't look like one. It's got that white belly with its spots. The difference is this mohawk, these two black stripes on its forehead with kind of a brown orangey stripe in the middle. So you'll see that there. It looks like a football helmet with a stripe down the center. That is an ovenbird. They get their name from the nest they build on the ground. So yeah, they put their nest on the ground, which is kind of dangerous, but that's what they do. And then they cover it so that other people can't see their nests. And the eggs are under the cover, so it looks like it's inside an oven, their nest, or where their eggs are. So that's where they get their name, Ovenbird. And their call, you can see it here, it starts off quiet and gets louder and louder and louder. And they're going, teacher, 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 teacher. So if you hear one getting louder and louder calling for its teacher, it's an ovenbird. Let me play this for you. You've probably heard the sound and you never knew what it was. Yeah, how it's getting louder and louder and higher. Teacher, 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 teacher. All right, take a listen for that. Next, we talked about Nashville. Now here's the Tennessee warbler. So it's got the same gray cap, but this time no eye ring. Remember, the Nashville's got that big eye ring. Here we've got an eye stripe and a super thin bill. No wing bars. Remember, there's no bars in Tennessee or in Nashville. But what you'll notice here is a really plain chest. Really plain. You might even say it's like all white. So you see a bird like this that's small, you're like, what is that? Oh, it's a Tennessee. Now, the backs are kind of greenish yellow. And then I'm calling it breeding versus non-breeding, because if it has this gray cap, you know it's a breeding male. But the non-breeding could be a non-breeding male or a non-breeding female. They kind of are the same. It's hard to tell them apart. So, but if it's got this gray cap, you know it's a male. If it doesn't, you just know it's non-breeding. It could be a female or a male. Kind of a yellowy green all over the back and the tummy, but you can still see that eye stripe, and you can still see that really thin, sharp bill. They are mostly, pretty much from the Rocky Mountains over in the US and Canada. So it's a pretty widespread warbler. Why is it named after Tennessee? Because they don't breed there. They just fly and migrate through. That's the first place they were studied and found. So that's why. It's got a 3-part song. So you can see here it gets faster and faster during the 3 parts. And to me it sounds like it's going N, 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 S, 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 E, 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 E. like it's spelling its own name. N-S-E, 3 parts. And that's, in Tennessee, the letters that are doubled. N, S, and E. So let's hear that. There's the 3 parts. N, 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 S, 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 E. There you go. Tennessee Warbler. Next is the Palm Warbler. Wow. Look at that rusty cap. It's the only warbler that has that brown, rusty, full cap. All right. So there you go. You're looking for, the males have that cap, and they've got that yellow throat and kind of a yellow eye stripe there. But wait, oh, I see. There's also an all yellow version. All right, so you gotta be aware, the palm warblers actually have 2 species, subspecies, or 2 versions, whatever you want to call them. There's the yellow version and the western version. And the difference is the Hudson Bay. So if a palm warbler breeds on the east side of the Hudson Bay, it's a yellow version of the palm warbler, and they're yellow. If they're on the west side of Hudson Bay, it's a western palm warbler. Don't ask why it happens. I don't know, but that's the way it is. So where we live, kind of here in the Great Lakes, we've got both versions that migrate through our area. So we've got yellow and we've got western palm warblers. And the difference is just that the variation of the yellow wash over their belly. So it's just something fun to look for. What kind of version do you have in your area? So they both have that rusty cap. The females don't. They're a little more drab, kind of browny, but they've got that yellow under their tail coverts. So you can see that here. Doesn't matter which version, they've got that yellow under the tail. They're constantly wagging that tail, and they're walking around on the ground. They get their name from, in the Caribbean, when they were first found, they were found near some palm trees, and so they assumed they were palm warblers. But there's no palm trees in the boreal forest. That's a misnomer. But I think of them as they're constantly walking in circles on the ground, wagging their tails, walking around a palm tree. But even though they aren't doing that, that's how I remember that it's a palm warbler. And their sound is much like a chipping sparrow. Let me play that for you. Let's listen here. Yeah, so kind of a one note over and over again. Very much like a chipping sparrow. There you go. The palm warbler. Next is the pine warbler. It's one of the earliest migrants. It shows up in early April. They've got yellow fading to gray with strong double wing bars and a broken eye ring. So that yellow wash over the front half of the body. And it's very true to its name. It loves pine trees. It's got that thick bill that likes to break open and eat the nuts and the seeds. They stay pretty well hidden in pine trees. It's tough to see them. Easier to hear them. They also have a monotone trill, like that chipping sparrow, like that palm warbler. And they're found pretty much all over the East Coast. They breed pretty far down south, and they winter in the southeast, and they go all the way up to Canada. So let me play the pine warbler sound. And because they like nuts and seeds, they will come to a backyard feeder. Very uncommon for a warbler to come there, but the Cape May will do it for your hummingbirds, and the pine warbler for your nuts if you're offering seeds and nuts. Yeah, very monotone trill. There we go. When the pine tree is talking to you, look for the warbler. All right, down to the last 3. The Wilson's warbler. I call this the Donald Trump Warbler. It looks like it's wearing a bad hairpiece. It's got a toupee on. So it's a yellow-green all over with that striking black cap. So the males have that cap, and the females either have nothing or very faint. You hear the female with a little bit of black spots on the head. Nothing like the males. But man, look at that striking black eye as well. So that plain face with the black cap and the black eye, it's a Wilson's Warbler. And they're hard to find because they're constantly moving in the thick underbrush. They love the thicket, but they'll pop out once in a while and they'll sing their heart out, and then they'll go back. When they are on breeding territory, they love being near water. Here's this picture on a willow tree. So willows, alders, all that, that's where it wants to be. The song gets faster and then lower in pitch. I think of it as this poor guy bent over and its hat fell off, so it has to bend down and pick up its hat. So it gets faster and lower. Let's hear the Wilson's Warbler. See that two-part song? The second part, lower and faster. I dropped my hat. Let me pick it up. All right. And it's found, look at this map, pretty much all over the U.S. and Canada. Pretty much every state except the last tip of Florida. Wilson's Warbler. And we're down to the two yellow-rumped and yellow. And it doesn't always migrate, or it just migrates just a little bit. And the reason it's so adapted is because it eats almost anything. They'll eat berries, so in the wintertime they'll eat the myrtle berries. Like they're able to digest that wax. Not all warblers can do that. In fact, there's a couple subspecies here in North America. In the east we have the myrtle version, and in the west the Audubon. Now they kind of look similar. They got the same colors, but just the colors are mixed up a little bit. In the east here, they've got a black mask with kind of gray, charcoal, white with yellow, and all the same colors, but it doesn't have as big of a black mask there. So, and it doesn't have a white chin, it's got a yellow chin. The white is kind of on the wings instead of the chin. So, depending on your area, it's pretty much right down the middle of the U.S. You've got the Audubon on the west and the myrtle on the east. And its name is yellow-rumped because when it's flying away from you or when it's looking away from you, you can see that yellow on its rump. In our area, the nickname is butterbutt. Looks like a pat of butter right there on its butt. So butterbutt yellow, but it's on the top, not underneath, right? The underneath yellow is going to be your palm warbler, but above is going to be your yellow-rumped. And that's the same whether it's an Audubon or a myrtle variation. So just look for the yellow. If it's got more than one yellow spot, usually it's on the flanks, on the butt, and on the males, it's on its forehead. And then on the Audubon, it's the rump, the armpits are on the flanks, and the chin. So look for that. Its song, look how slow the song is, because you can see the individual notes compared to the trill of the pine so close together. But here you can see the individual notes, so you know it's going to be a slower song. I'll play you the myrtle song here now. Listen to those really fat song notes. Yeah, and it goes down at the end. There you go. That is the Yellow-rumped Warbler. And if we have any warblers that stick around in the winter, it's going to be a yellow-rumped. And here's the last warbler of the day. It's the yellow warbler. It's the easiest one to spot because it's all yellow. Head to tail, yellow. So it's got that same black eye like you'll see on the Wilson's Warbler, but no cap. All right? Not even a faint cap. Nothing up there. It's all yellow. Now the males will have these chestnut stripes. and it'll either be, you know, nice long stripes or thin. There's a lot of variation there, but the females, no, it's just a yellow wash. And in the middle of summer, when everything's green, man, you see this bright yellow, it's awesome. They eat insects. Look at that long bill. And what's interesting is the cowbird, the brown-headed cowbird, otherwise known as a parasite brooder, which means it'll lay its eggs on any available nest. And it likes picking on the yellow warbler. It likes finding its nest because they're in the same habitat. They like being next to a farmer's field with some scrubby bushes. That's where the yellow warbler's nest is. And so the brown-headed cowbird finds it, lays its egg, and flies away. Now, most birds don't notice, and they raise the cowbird as their own. But the yellow warbler hates it. And what they'll even do is they'll abandon all the eggs that they've laid in their own nest, and they'll build a second nest right on top of the first nest. Abandon the eggs are still there, but they'll stop sitting on it, and they'll build a nest on top. They've found up to 6 levels of nests of a yellow warbler who has just gone and abandoned her nest because a cowbird laid its egg and did it again and again and again. That's an interesting trick to deal with the cowbirds. Their song is "Sweet, sweet, sweet, I'm so sweet." And you can pick that sound up all summer long. And you can see here's their breeding territory. Most of the U.S., they're found all over. Let me play the song for you so you can see it here on the spectrograph. Sweet, 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 it's so sweet. Here we go. Sweet, 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 I'm so sweet. Let's hear that again. All right. So that's it for warblers. I really want you to see some warblers this year. Hopefully you can find all of these plus some more. If not, go to eBird, see where they've been seen, find the hot spots, and best of luck. All right. You did it. You got through the Warbler series. You're now a Warbler wizard. I want to see in the comments below all the warblers that you can now identify based on your new skills. And yes, live, laugh, love. No, this is not my house. It's an Airbnb. We are out looking for warblers and filming our next adventure series. So stay tuned. Birding adventures coming your way.